Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund Regulations 2021. Minister, I think you had to sprint like a greyhound to get here. Appropriate for the debate that's in it. Can I call on you to move the motion?
Move the motion.
And your 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and apologies for the delay. I was just come from a cabinet subcommittee meeting there, so apologies and thanks for your patience. Appreciate it. So, listen, an important pillar of government policy is to ensure that the horse and greyhound racing industries achieve their maximum potential, and in so doing contribute to economic and social development over a wide geographic distribution. The horse and greyhound racing industries make a valuable contribution to a balanced regional economy. It is estimated that the thoroughbred industry has an annual economic impact of €1.84 billion, with direct and indirect employment of 29,000 people, and the greyhound sector benefits an estimated 10,000 people. The thoroughbred industry in particular brings a high level of international investment into Ireland. Government funding, in addition to supporting these key industries, presents an excellent opportunity to yield a high return for its investment, leading to a flow of income right through the economy. Support for strategic industries is important, of course, for future economic growth and can provide widespread benefits for our society as well as for our economy. The Irish equine breeding and racing industry is extremely competitive at global level. It's a real beacon for excellence. We are the third biggest producer of thoroughbred foals in the world. Estimates place Ireland only behind the United States as the biggest seller of bloodstock at public auction globally. The support provided by public funds through investment in these industries has enabled Ireland to develop a world-class reputation for excellence in horse racing, and greyhound racing and breeding. The horse and greyhound racing industries receive financial support from the state through the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund under Section 12 of the Horse and Greyhound Racing Act of 2001. And my department makes these payments from the fund to Horse Racing Ireland and to Cummins. In the period 2001 to date, a total of €1.46 billion has been paid from the fund to the horse and greyhound racing industries in accordance with the provisions of the Act. The cumulative upper limit on payments from the fund provided for under the relevant regulations has been reached. The estimates for my department passed by the Exchequer support funded from the fund is crucial, obviously, to the survival and continued development of both industries. In order to give effect to the provisions of Budget 2022, this cumulative upper limit must be increased by regulation. The estimates for my department passed by both Houses as part of Budget 2022 include an allocation of €88 million for the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund, and this will be distributed in accordance with 12.6 of the Act 2001 Act, with 80% going to HRI and 20% to Cummins, so €70.4 million to Horse Racing Ireland and €17.6 million to Cummins. In order to allow my department to provide the monies allocated in Budget 2022, it is necessary to comply with the technical requirement under Section 12.13 of the Act to increase this cumulative limit on the amount payable from the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund by €88 million to some €1.54 billion. So it's €88 million we propose to give this year, and under the regulation we have to therefore increase the overall ceiling of the fund by that €88 million to facilitate it being paid. And that's what's being achieved by the regulation before, which I've submitted to the House here today and which I previously discussed and was passed in the Dáil. The aggregate limit on the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund has been increased in this manner in 2004 and in 2009 to 2021 inclusive. To discuss a bit more on the horse racing industry, firstly, the 2017 Deloitte report into the economic impact of Irish breeding and racing commissioned by HRI indicates that the total direct and stimulated expenditure of the Irish breeding and racing industry is estimated at €1.4 billion as of 2016 figures. In addition to that, there are 15,200 jobs at the core of the racing and breeding industry, or in directly related industries. While the COVID pandemic, obviously, has had a major impact on all levels of the industry, particularly in the area of race courses and attendances, the numbers of horses in training, owners, runners, fixtures and race numbers have all shown strong growth this year over the corresponding pre-pandemic figures in 2019. The importance of a strong welfare and integrity foundation to this highly successful industry is crucial, and this is well recognised throughout the industry. My department and I will continue to work with HRI and the Irish Horse Racing Regulatory Board and other relevant stakeholders to ensure the highest standards of integrity and welfare are maintained. In that regard, in receipt of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture, Food and Marine's report on integrity in horse racing, which issued earlier this month, and which I know Senator Daly here played a significant role with his colleagues and Senator Boyhan on developing. And I want to let you know that I am examining that report, Senators, in detail, and am fully considering its findings as well. The EU-UK Brexit trade agreement reached in December of last year, which included the Northern Ireland Protocol, was a welcome development. But it should be noted, Caherla, that challenges remain in relation to certain movements of horses. The global nature of major breeding operations illustrates that while Ireland arguably now holds a leadership position within Europe, its preeminence is not guaranteed. To touch on the the greyhound racing industry, Caherla, according to the 2021 Power Report, the industry provides considerable employment, both directly and indirectly, and it's estimated that in 2019 it supported over 4,000 full-time and part-time jobs in the economy, with some 6,000 active greyhound owners. The funding provided to the sector through the fund helps sustain a long-standing tradition, as the industry is very much part of our social fabric in the country. And this funding underpins economic activity in what are many instances rural areas. The industry itself is committed to continuing to strengthen welfare standards, which are really, really important here too, and have been central to the objectives and work of Ahearn, and I very much support this continued pursuit of improvement. And future funding of the sector is very much contingent on welfare standards being upheld, and is very much also reflected in the annual parameters set out by my officials in their liaison with Ahearn. Provision in the Greyhound Racing Act of 2019, which came into effect on the 28th of May 2019, will have also very much strengthened and made a real difference in this regard. Yes.
Cooperation, and maybe would you, because we're running a bit late and we have to get out of here by 6:30, and I'm conscious a lot of people want to, but maybe if it's okay with you, you might leave that last part of your speech until you're summing up. You'll have 6 minutes.
Thank you.
And my apologies, Leader, I should have asked you to move the motion, so you have 4 minutes now, and you might actually move the motion.
I move, Caherla, and I'm delighted to support the motion to extend the upper ceiling on the Horse and Greyhound Fund. And I welcome the Minister's contribution. I welcome the Minister here this evening. And 4 minutes is very short, Caherla, so I won't rehash the figures and the sums of money and the investment that goes with this fund and the great role that it plays in rural Ireland. As we're all aware, most of, if not all, of the horse and greyhound trainers are rural based, and the amount of activity that having a horse trainer or indeed a greyhound trainer in your area can circulate within that economy, let it be food, transport, staff, etc. And this money does filter down, and without it, that industry and horse and greyhound racing are both industries at the end of the day, while they are sports. As I said in a previous contribution to the Agriculture Committee, the sport in many cases lasts 5 minutes. The preparation for them 5 minutes can be 3 to 4 years of employment, nurturing, caring for a horse, which is expenditure within that local community. I welcome also, Minister, your acknowledgement of the Oireachtas Joint Committee's report, and I do hope you will act in it. And I do know, while there are a lot of positives in it and a lot of changes which could be made on the back of the report, it may not be the silver bullet, but to give it consideration and certainly to implement some, if not all, of its recommendations would be a massive bonus, and with particular emphasis to horse welfare and horse and dog welfare. And I welcome also your commitment to that, and indeed the commitment of HRI and RC in recent years. Look, we've had controversy, it's well documented on all channels and on all elements of the media, where we have had some cases that are totally unacceptable, and these need to be weeded out. There needs to be traceability, which has been introduced under the Greyhound Racing Act of 2019 within the Greyhounds, and a similar traceability system is part of our report from the Oireachtas Joint Committee, and I would like to see that being implemented from the horse racing side also. I am aware, as you are yourself, Minister, there is an amendment to this evening's horse and greyhound bill as presented. And just going through the amendment briefly, which I won't be supporting, it is asking for a full review by yourself of the expenditure and of the investment of the fund. And as you mentioned in your report, in 2017, Horse Racing Ireland, through their Delight report, and the Greyhounds through the Power report, have actually done that full review, and those reports were both presented to the Oireachtas Committee. This bill each year to approve the extension of the ceiling, of the upper limit of the ceiling for expenditure, gets thorough examination at the Oireachtas Agriculture Committee, and indeed the CEOs and representatives from both HRI and Rossa Ahearn always appear on an annual basis before the committee. So I do feel, Minister, that the review that's been requested is in fact in this area being carried out, and in a lot more thorough and a lot more detailed manner than it possibly is in many other areas. So I don't feel or see the need for that duplication. Another element of the amendment questions the money going towards prize money. And again, with somebody who is actively involved in racing and a former, as of last week, chairperson of a race committee, the money doesn't all go towards prize money. The HRI grant aid race committees on a percentage basis for developments and stabling, catering facilities, facilities for the paying public. And I think of all times going, there's probably going to be a need for that and more of that going forward, because as we come out of COVID, I think the emphasis of people enjoying a day at the races or at the Greyhounds, indeed, they're going to want more facilities where they can have open air facilities and spend more time outside. So we're probably going to need more investment for the facilities, for the punters in both codes, and I think it's vitally important that money would filter down. As I mentioned to you, and indeed the Acting Cathaoirleach has mentioned to you at the Agriculture Committee, we've had a lot of representation from the Horse and Pony Fund who are struggling to put together their insurance money, and if there's any way some money could filter from this fund down through to them. The jockeys and our big top jockeys all come through the pony racing cycle. And just on the prize money, a lot of people say, and the amendment says that there's too much money going to prize money. The prize money is what attracts the horses. And if you look at horse racing closely at the moment, because of our prize money in Ireland, there are a large number of English owners who now are having their horses stabled and trained in Ireland. And that is enhancing our business and our game and our sport. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the quality of our prize money, that would not be happening. And the argument about the majority of the prize money going to a certain few, the certain few are the bigger stables. Senator. And a pro rata amount of the people they employ in the rural areas. Yeah. It's an equal.
I'm really sorry to do this, but we are in difficult time, and to be fair to everybody, I'm going to remove my own four-man slot, and I would ask everybody else to try and accommodate every one of your own colleagues. So the next speaker is Senator Boyhan.
Okay, and I'll keep my time short. I'm also conscious that four of the members here are members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture, and the man that maybe have more to say than anyone is the man from that wonderful horse country of Kildare, which is the senator beside me here, but behind me slightly. But anyway, what I was just going to say, Minister, I want to thank you for being here yourself. We all know that horse racing and horse breeding are an integral part of agriculture, rural life, rural communities, the rural economy, and they are massively connected both directly and indirectly to rural employment and the rural economy, and play a very significant role in some counties more than others. I do think, and I've listened to Senator Daly in relation to the amendment here today, and I think that the substantive issues around the amendment are valid, but also I want to say that, and I raised this previously with you at the committee, and you did acknowledge it and your officials, we have the Indecon Economic Consultants report and we have the Deloitte report, and I suggested at the committee that they be taken down and dusted down and looked at, because they were very detailed reports, and there were some aspects that may need to be revisited, and I think that's not a bad thing. We've commissioned these reports, they're there, let's look at them again, because I think they're seriously important. You referenced yourself in your speech here today in relation to the Joint Oireachtas Committee substantial report in the industry. And of course, within days of that being published, we had an incident in Kildare, which I'm not going to go into for various reasons, because revenue are involved and Garda Síochána are involved, and there are serious questions and an ongoing investigation. You know about it, as do we all, and I suppose there's an element of speculation there, so it's not appropriate to comment other than to say it raises the issue of suspicion and concern about the integrity of the business. You know, and we all know here, we want to protect this very valuable industry and this very valuable business. So look, in principle, you're asking for the approval of over 70 million for the horse racing sector alone, and I think that's a huge amount of money. So it is right that we have proper probity, we have proper governance in the issues that address that. I just want to close really by saying that, and I said at the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture too, that I think animal welfare has to be a very critical part. And I know there's a percentage of this funding ring-fenced for animal welfare, but animal welfare is of serious concern. And I know in your working together for animal welfare, the Ireland's Animal Welfare Strategy 2021 to 2025, which I would ask if your officials could circulate to every member of the Oireachtas. I think it's a really, really important document, and particularly your reference to the establishment of the chair of the Animal Welfare and Veterinary Ethics at UCD School of Veterinary Medicine. Very, very positive move, and one that I welcome, particularly in relation to the mainstream animal welfare across all teagasc education, knowledge transfer and training activities. And perhaps at a future debate in the next quarter in the Seanad, we might focus in on this, because this is a really important document, and I acknowledge that. And also the introduction of the new scheme of improvement for greyhound traceability, which is also referenced in this report. So in conclusion, look, I'm supportive. I do think there is huge valid aspects to the amendments, and I'd be interested in your response to them. But I would ask that you could circulate the Working Together on Animal Welfare document, because I think there are some really critical issues. And you might also reference the tagging and referencing of bloodstock, which you had a national audit, and I think it's a really, really welcome initiative. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Senator Boylan. Thank you for your cooperation. For the new members in, I just want to say, unfortunately, the Minister got held up at a very important meeting. We're running late. So I've asked members to really cooperate with me. I came down hard on Senator Daly. I cut the Minister's speech out a bit. So the next speaker here is Senator Lombard.
Thank you, Chair. I realise you're very hard on Senator Daly, so I'll be very, very polite in my response. First of all, may I start by seconding the motion that Senator Daly proposed, and pleasure in seconding it. I think it's a very, very important motion that's before the Seanad here this evening. I think when you actually talk about the investment or the actual what this fund is worth to rural Ireland, it's very, very significant, whether it's both on the dog industry or in the horse racing industry. All parishes in rural Ireland have somebody involved in it at some stage, and the general feeling in the rural community is that this is one of our core industries. It has been involved in so many things throughout society. I think all of us know people that work and actually are involved in this. In my own parish, we've had 2 laurels winners in the last 4 years. So, when it comes to dog racing in particular, we've seen the benefits of that locally. And if you look at what we're trying to do here, we're trying to sustain rural Ireland, we're trying to sustain rural jobs. We're also trying to give the feeling out there that we're not big Dublin attacking rural Ireland on a continuous basis. And I think there is that feeling out there, particularly in rural Ireland. And this fund goes an awful long way to protect rural Ireland. It protects core industries, it protects the people that work so genuinely hard in this industry. But it's important to note that there's been body of work done, in particular the Agricultural Committee, regarding both of these industries. We've produced reports in the last 3 or 4 years, and we've highlighted issues that need to be addressed. And I think that's been a really positive step forward. And particularly on the greyhound industry, we actually brought forward proposals which have been acted upon, whether it comes to the care and welfare of dogs, the actual welfare of dogs. These issues are very important to society. The report that was published, I think you remember that actual committee, Minister, has been acted upon by the actual Oireachtas or by the actual board in Gael, which is a really positive step. And only in the last few weeks we published another report regarding the equine industry. And I think those recommendations need to be taken on board as well. And I think that shows you the body of work that the committee have done to work with both industries to make sure that they're appropriate for modern day Ireland. But the core of the argument here is that these two industries are a vital part of our society, vital part of our rural economy, and we must do what we can to support our rural economy. We've seen COVID attack it at many, many levels. We've seen huge issues regarding marketing, regarding greyhound, regarding people turning up in natural dog tracks and horse racing tracks. They've been really badly affected over the last 21 months in particular. If ever we needed to support that industry, it is now. The need for that support is very much there, and I would absolutely support it because I believe it has a real knock-on benefit for our entire society. Chair, I'll leave you at that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much for your cooperation. I'll move on quickly to Senator Pauline O'Reilly.
Thank you, Laska Hirlock, and you're very welcome, Minister. I suppose just to say at the start, I've spoken about this issue before. I'm going to probably specifically talk about the greyhound industry, and to be fair to Senator Daly, he's acknowledged that this is a difficult issue for me, and it's a difficulty with being in government. And I think that we just have to explain that you know, there are certain things that we did not get in the programme for government, and we are not supportive of the greyhound industry as a party. It's in our manifesto that we believe in the phasing out of public funding. And there are serious question marks over how the dogs are treated, quite apart from that whole aspect of whether it should be funded or shouldn't be funded. But I think that the fact that we're the only party sitting here today in this chamber that has that as one of our core policy areas has to be pointed out as well, because others may talk about the issues of the dog racing industry, but actually very few are vocal about the fact that they support the greyhound industry fundamentally. That's what the parliamentary questions show for the Dáil, and in this chamber we are the only party who don't. But that said, we're in government, and we abide by our programme for government commitments, and we got a huge amount in there that actually on animal welfare, it's the programme for government that has the most in relation to animal welfare anywhere ever of any programme for government. So I'd also like to recognise that and recognise your work in that area, Minister. What the programme for government does say, though, is that the future funding of the greyhound industry is contingent on a guarantee of welfare standards being upheld. And the very fact that the traceability is being questioned, even by government colleagues, shows that there are question marks over that have to be addressed. And I'm asking you to take that on board very, very seriously. Now, you know, I've obviously been contacted by those in animal welfare circles who are concerned that the traceability system only kicks in when dogs turn 12 to 14 months. And there's question marks then over those dogs that cannot race, that were born never being able to race. Where's the traceability for those animals? So those are a couple of questions that I'd have. I think that given where we are, given the kind of question marks there are over traceability, that it's a good time to talk about whether these industries should in fact be decoupled. There's also question marks, again, an awful lot of question marks, which isn't good to see, but there are question marks again over the gambling industry and how these two interact. I wouldn't agree with Senator Lombard that this is a fundamental industry for rural Ireland, coming as I do from Galway. Again, there are claims that there are 5,000 jobs in the greyhound industry, but actually there's also, on the flip side, those saying that there's 125 jobs with 700 casual jobs, which really, realistically, makes a lot more sense, because it is an industry that isn't with us all of the time, and an awful lot of those that I know would be doing it after college in the evening, because it doesn't go on throughout the day, and that's in Galway, as I say. I'll refer as well to the fact that I think that there would be huge public support for decoupling, because it's a challenge for us if we want to support the equine industry, but then we're bringing the two together. It's not really allowing us to ensure that traceability is happening, because all of the time we're almost blackmailed into it. We have to do it because of the equine industry, and there is no and the two are lumped together. And we know that only 16% in a survey said that they did actually agree with this industry being funded by the state. So I think it's a win-win all round, would ensure greater traceability if there was more accountability. Thank you, Laska.
Thank you very much, Senator Riley, and thanks for your cooperation. Now I'm going to call on Senator Lynn Boylan, and would you move your amendment, please?
I move.
Can I have a seconder? Second. That's seconded. Senator Boylan, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and I welcome tonight's debate on the funding of the Greyhound and Horse Racing Fund, as it gives me an opportunity to raise the concerns I continue to have regarding animal welfare issues in the greyhound racing industry. we have tabled a very sensible amendment which is calling for a review of the funding, but also on its efficacy in ensuring the highest level of animal welfare standards. And I think it's appropriate, given that a lot of the welfare standards are not kicking in until they've kicked in January this year and November of this year, so that review would be timely. But I will focus my 4 minutes on animal welfare issues, particularly in the greyhound industry. And I make no apologies for being upfront about my views on greyhound racing. I don't like it, I'll be honest with you. I fail to see the appeal. But I know that there are many in these houses who do. And in fact, there are even elected representatives who own racing greyhounds, and I hope that when they're speaking that they're open about their involvement in the industry. But I'd like to dedicate this time to highlighting specific concerns, and the first is regarding the lack of vets at both official and unofficial trials. And this was confirmed to me by Greyhound Racing Ireland only recently, and I raised it with you directly, Minister, in the Agricultural Committee. And I have to say, your response to compare race events and trials and the access to medical care is similar to a county game versus a parish game was very concerning, because according to the Greyhound Code of Practice, which came into effect recently, freedom from pain, injury or disease by prevention or rapid diagnosis and treatment is listed as one of the 5 principles for best welfare practice. Now tell me how a dog fracturing its hock during a trial and having to be brought off-site to receive veterinary care is in compliance with that code. And you compare this to our nearest neighbour, where it is mandatory for a vet to be present at all trials. I'd also like to raise the lack of transparency in the industry regarding injuries and fatalities. Surely the public who are funding this industry to the tune of 17 million are entitled to have a publicly accessible database of injuries that are sustained not just at races but at trials and the unofficial trials. And when it comes to how the 10% of the public funding mandated to be spent on greyhound welfare, there is also very little transparency. So from Greyhound Racing Ireland's annual report, it claims that 1.76 million was spent on welfare, laboratory integrity and governance, but there's no detailed breakdown of what exactly that money is being spent on, so that the public can be confident that their money is in fact being spent for welfare purposes. And this then brings me on to the traceability system, which came into effect in January. Why is this information not publicly accessible? And again, why is it being funded from a welfare funding stream rather than operational costs? For years, animal welfare organisations have pointed to the thousands of greyhounds that are unaccounted for every year, and the introduction of the traceability system was supposed to provide all-of-life information on a greyhound, but if it isn't publicly available, then how can the public trust that the information is in fact accurate and verifiable? It's only through full transparency that we'll be able to truly see the level of overbreeding that is taking place in the greyhound industry in this country, and how the majority of greyhounds never make the cut and end up having to be rehomed if they're lucky enough to be rehomed. So it's long overdue that consideration is given to putting a cap on the number of greyhounds that are bred, yet instead we have a situation whereby permission can be sought for a breeding bitch to have a 7th and an 8th litter, and best practice is for a bitch to whelp 4 litters over the course of her breeding life. So the greyhound industry is already an outlier with 6 litters. And in fact, there are elected representatives in the Dáil who owned a bitch that bred 8 times. So I would hope that you would consider accepting our amendment, but as I said, the concerns on welfare aren't going to go away, and for those people who genuinely are interested in seeing the greyhound industry survive, then I say to you, the more you do on welfare, the more chance you have of that actually happening.
Thank you very much for your cooperation and time. Now, I suppose Kildare is one of the greatest counties for the horse racing industry, and Senator Wall.
Thanks very much for the build-up, Ahearn, and I suppose being from County Kildare, I'm acutely aware of the importance of the horse racing industry to that particular county. It's not known as a thoroughbred county for nothing. A 2019 Daly report on the economic benefit of breeding and racing in the county, Minister of County Kildare found that almost 5,000 people were employed in the county in direct and secondary employment. The industry was worth in the region of 421 million to the county, with 79 million in bloodstock sales by vendors in the county very quickly you can get a picture of the importance of horse racing to County Kildare. Add into that mix that almost 230,000 people attended the 55 race meetings in the county that year. The potential for tourism and the current benefit that the 3 tracks in the county bring are obviously worth noting. The investments in the 3 tracks, the Curragh, Punchestown and Naas, have brought further economic benefit to the county. Over the last 3 months, I have attended 2 very positive tourism gatherings looking to build on and promote the potential of this industry in the county where I live. Most recently, I joined the Minister for Tourism, Catherine Martin TD, at the beautiful Kiki Castle near Castledermot, where the potential of developing those numbers coming to Kildare for the sport were discussed and advanced. A couple of weeks prior to that, I attended the magnificent Irish National Stud in Kildare Town, which in itself attracts almost 150,000 people each year, for the launch of the Thoroughbred Country destination, a 5-year plan between Tipperary and Kildare County Council and a number of other agencies. The overarching objective of this new plan is to increase the benefit of tourism to the area, a county that has already had a lot of new and established tourist experiences that the whole area of horse racing, from the trainer's yard to the 3 race tracks that I previously mentioned, can and will complement and can create further employment. Of course, in an area of smaller rural towns and villages and parishes like we have in South Kildare, there are many who are involved in the greyhound racing industry and really care passionately about the care of their animals. In many families, this is a tradition handed down through generations. It is, however, important to say, Minister, that both these industries involved in this fund have had serious welfare issues, and it is critical that the 10% ring fence in 2021 for the welfare initiatives get to those on the ground who are doing so much. Indeed, I believe we should be allocating a higher percentage in future for the fund. We are all aware of the support groups and charities that struggle each year with funding. This should not be the case, and in an area where I would like to see further debate, and indeed I feel we should do some more work here in the Oireachtas to address it. In the time that I have left Ahearn, I would like to raise an issue that I and indeed other members of this House have raised on numerous occasions in this House. That, of course, is problem gambling. I want to put on record once again my support for the Minister for State, James Brown TD, for his work in publishing the gambling bill, an important step forward and one that must be acted upon. Because for the many who enjoy the day at the races or the night at the dogs, there are unfortunately an estimated 40 to 50,000 people in this country who cannot enjoy those experiences because they cannot control their habit. Of course, I say estimated because we really don't know what the true public health figure in this country is for those who have a problem. I have tabled our own bill to eliminate gambling advertising. I'm sure we can all agree that the proliferation of ads on our TV screens and media is totally and utterly unacceptable. To paraphrase the words of those who advertise for the gambling industry, those who cannot stop when the fun stops, these are the people who need our urgent help. The cost of not addressing this problem for many is often the loss of a job, the breakup of a relationship and family, or even in some very desperate and sad cases, the ending of a life. It's a problem we must use the opportunity of this gambling bill, the creation of a gambling regulator and addressing the uncontrolled use of ads to begin to address it and to solve it. The last thing we need to work, Minister, is to work here with colleagues throughout the House and ensure that we get this gambling bill enacted as early as possible in the new year, and it does not remain on the shelf as the previous bill did. Government surely cannot allow this to happen, Ahearn, and I, for one, will be doing everything in my power to ensure that this is addressed for the sake of those 40 or 50,000 people in this country.
Thanks for your cooperation. Now, folks, by order of the House, I have to call the Minister at 24 minutes past, and there are 4 speakers here. Now, I have given up my 4 minutes, and I'm asking the 4 of you to share your time. Senator Kyne, would you share your time with Senator Buttimer? Senator Higgins, would you share with Senator Ahearn? Because we don't have the time. And the Minister might give a minute as well when he's the Minister give a minute. So the next speaker...
If you want to, if the Minister wants to give a minute, I will give a minute to Mr. I will take 3 minutes.
Presume you're replacing Senator Ruan.
Charlie, are you able to stay a bit longer? Are you able to stay a bit longer?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Senator Higgins. Okay.
Okay.
Senator Higgins.
Minister, I'm rising to say that unfortunately I'm going to have to oppose the motion today. My concerns relate to greyhound racing. You'll be aware that these are concerns which we aired when the greyhound legislation went through the last Oireachtas. And again, I really regret, I think that was an opportunity for an absolute root and branch overhaul of the industry, and I don't think it was fully taken. It's very regrettable, for example, that the amendments we put forward in relation to limiting the exports of greyhounds and properly tracing the exports of greyhounds were not taken at that time. The issues of traceability that have been highlighted still remain. I'm proud of the fact that myself and Senator Ruan won 2 important amendments in respect of that legislation at the time. One, an amendment in relation to the rehoming of greyhounds. And when we hear a lot of talk from Greyhound Racing Ireland, let's bear in mind they were made to make initiatives in respect of rehoming because of the changes made in that legislation. But of course, rehoming is one thing, but the curtailment of excessive breeding, the proper tracing, not just of at 12 months, but from birth in terms of puppies, is still a concern, because we are aware of the numbers of deaths that have taken place from grey dogs which do not meet the standards that are set. And dogs should never be treated as a crop. So again, the lack of traceability, the lack of proper measures in respect of exports, the very serious welfare concerns that are there. Again, another amendment we won was adding a vet to the board, Greyhound board, but yet we see vets are still not present at those meetings and at trials. And when we hear about the employment, I think there is some ambiguity of where that employment is, because if it's not in having vets taking place at meetings, if it's not there in terms of, for example, the welfare of greyhounds, which takes only 10%, of the proposed 17.6 million that is going to Greyhound Ireland. And again, it's really notable the contrast with the 1.5 million. The 1.5 million that goes to animal welfare organisations of every kind across the country. I have no doubt that if we chose to invest even 5 million or 10 million of what we put into greyhounds into animal welfare organisations, that would generate employment and would indeed be a contribution and something of value to Irish society. Minister, greyhound racing is a sport which needs reform and ultimately needs to be ended. This is an exit process that needs to be looked at. The figures show only 16% of the public in a Red C poll felt the state should be funding this industry. The tracks have lost 30 million since 2019, that attendance fell by 55% between 2008 and 2018. That's previous to COVID. And of course the state has been supplementing, I am sure, through schemes like PUP, the employment. So who is the state funding and supporting? Ultimately, through this, we are funding the gambling industry. We've heard the figures on problem gambling, 40,000 figures. And just for perspective, Paddy Power trebled their profits in the first 6 months. The Flutter Entertainment, I should be clear, who support Paddy Power, trebled their profits in the first 6 months of this year. They don't need our support on prize money. Thank you. Apologies.
We'll try and give you a minute. Okay.
Thanks very much. Chair. How long do I have?
Just about a minute. That's all I can do. Sorry, the Minister's taken time off his thing already, and he was uninvitably caught up. No,
could I ask that we extend the time for just 10 minutes to allow, because I see
because it started late.
Okay, I'm told
it did start late.
We have to get it. I am told that we must get an order of the House. The order of business was agreed today. I'm now told to extend it by 10 minutes. We're wasting time now, actually.
Yeah, could I propose that, notwithstanding anything in the order of the House, that we add an additional 10 minutes to this meeting?
Okay, we'll get that checked out. Is that agreed if we get it checked out?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Senator Ahearn, we'll give you 2 minutes for now.
Yeah, perfect. Look, I'd love to have more time to speak in this, obviously, but the fact that I've only 2 minutes, I'll just get straight to the point. I totally support this, Minister, and I thank you for your input and your support to this sector. It's a huge sector for where I'm from in Tipperary, the horse racing industry and the greyhound industry, and I want to thank you for your work that you've done in Clonmel Greyhound track in supporting and securing the future of that track for the next number of years. Look, the horse racing industry, it creates 10,000 jobs directly. Loads more indirectly. It contributes to about €1 billion in generated funding. The greyhound industry, Jim Power did a report on it where there's a net contribution of €132 million contribution, and there's 4,150 people working full-time or part-time in the industry. These are people who love animals, who love what they do, and it's important that we support them and that we continually support them. I know there's a number of my colleagues, Councillor Eileen Lynch and Councillor Dave McManus, who do their very best to support this industry as well, and I want to acknowledge their work. Just to give an insight into what this industry can do and how we can change lives and encourage people. Rachel Blackmore just this week has been nominated as the World Sports Star Award on BBC. It's the first time since the 1960s someone in the racing industry was nominated for that. It was a jockey from Australia, George Moore. She's up against Tom Brady, who won the Super Bowl last year, Max Verstappen in Formula 1, Novak Djokovic. She'll win it, in my view, and she'll win it because of her contribution she's made in the racing industry over the last year, on the horse, and most importantly, off the horse as an individual and an inspiration to people right across the country here, and in particularly women. And I want to wish her well, and we in Tipperary are hugely proud of the contribution she makes for herself, for the county and for the racing industry in total. Thank you.
Senator Kyne, you can't move the amendment, but we're trying to get a few extra minutes. So maybe for now you take 3 and Senator Buttimer take 2, and we'll try and fit in Senator Cummins.
Okay, well, I can take 2 minutes if it's okay. I'll take 2 minutes.
Well, you give me 3 and we'll try and
I'll take 2 minutes and allow. Could I just welcome the Minister and say that, you know, my father, Lord Mercy, used to own a few horses in his time, more of a hobby than anything else, although he had a small bit of success. But I can say, without fear of being incorrect, that, you know, he loved those horses. He treated them with respect. He got the vets in. He talked to them, God knows, and you know, he was very much supportive of animal welfare. And I think the majority of horse owners are the same. And look, I support all sports, these sports such as horse racing and greyhound racing, but I also want to ensure that everything has been done to support animal welfare.
There, we actually have been told now you can move an extension for 10 minutes, so maybe you would propose that.
Okay, could I propose that?
Is that agreed? Agreed. Let's continue. We'll get everybody in now.
Not sure.
Include the Minister. I can work miracles.
So, in relation to horse racing and greyhound racing, I mean, animal welfare has to be important. And you know, there's been a lot of work, and in fairness, members of this House and the other House and across the political spectrum have supported changes that have enhanced welfare issues. I come from Galway. We know that Galway races is synonymous. Galway and the 7-day festival in the summer, and the September and October meetings, the world-renowned Galway Plate and Galway Hurdle. It's a huge boost to the local economy there. It's thriving. The city closes down for that period of time in terms of, well, it opens up, I should say, to everyone else, but it closes down in terms of productivity to a degree, because it's a festival. It is the racing festival. So it's hugely important to the local economy in terms of what it does. And we also have the Galway racing track as well as part of the sports ground in association as well with Connacht Rugby. You know, the boost to the economy of funding, together with the prize monies that are provided and the investment, are huge. And the opportunities it gives to young Irish jockeys is to be highlighted as well. The greyhound industry, and again, you know, it does support some 4,150 full-time jobs and contributes €132 million to the economy, as well as the further investment by the greyhound owners themselves. So it is an industry that still has a positive role to play. But again, I will re-emphasise that the measures put in place in relation to welfare have to be adhered to. There needs to be no doubt in relation to the levels of inspections and the level of adherence to the guidelines that have been put in place by the Oireachtas. And your job as Minister is to ensure that that happens for the good of the industry.
Thanks very much, Senator Kyne, and sorry about the interruption. Now, I'm going to suggest Senator Cummins, Senator Buttimer, 2.5 minutes each. Senator Buttimer.
Thank you.
Right.
I'll even just take 2 minutes and give the remainder to Senator Cummins. Can I just welcome the Minister on this important debate and wish we had more time. Our horse and greyhound industry is very important to our country economically, internationally, and our reputation as a country is known for the way in which we treat our animals. I think it's a bit disingenuous of some to come in here and criticise the industry unfairly when they don't understand what's been done in terms of the changes in our greyhound industry around rehoming, around care, and the benefit it makes. You can nod your head all you want to, Senator. You can shake your head and dismiss all you want to. You'll be campaigning in the general election.
Senator Buttimer, please.
And you'll be going out telling people one thing and doing another thing. and the doors.
trials.
Well, you know what?
Without interruption.
I have a lot more experience.
Without interruption, please, Senator Buttimer.
I have a lot more experience in the Greyhound industry than you have, Senator.
Address the issue, please. Senator Boylan, can I ask you?
Senator Ahearn made reference to Councillors McManus and Lynch, and Councillor Lynch's father and family in Cork are the home of the Irish Greyhound lads champion on a number of occasions. And I come from a family that supports and have had greyhounds, and I know the work that's done and the care given to our greyhounds and our industry by those involved on the ground. And I can vouch for those men and women. Can I just conclude in this, Cahill? The industry has changed, but our horse racing, our breeding, our thoroughbreds, our jockeys, our owners, our trainers, our horses, around the world. And Senator Ahearn mentioned Rachel Blackmore. Look at the success last weekend of Aidan Coleman in Aintree. Look at the success of our horses around the world. The value that the people around the world put on our thoroughbreds. 1.84 billion, 29,000 plus jobs. This bill is a good bill. It's about supporting local economies. It's about supporting local people. But more importantly, it's about ensuring that there is welfare and accountability. And that's what we're all about. None of us want to see an industry tarnished or damaged or sullied. And that's why I'm supporting this bill. And I commend this bill to the House.
Thank you, Senator Buttimer. Senator Cummins, 2.5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Laska Hirlik, and I welcome the Minister to the House, and I fully support the Horse and Greyhound Fund. Both industries are exceptionally important to my own county of Waterford. Kilcunk Park Greyhound Track, which I grew up next to, provides many jobs for those involved in the industry, but also indirectly in terms of employment for young people that go to school and live in the locality at race meets every single week. Same in terms of the Tramore races and the many fantastic trainers that we have in Waterford, not least Henry de Bromhead, who has been honoured on numerous occasions due to his exploits last season. But more than that, Minister, I think it's important to acknowledge, people talk about the welfare issue, and absolutely, universally, you will not find anybody who disagrees on the importance of animal welfare. I have seen firsthand the people who are involved in both the greyhound industry and the horse racing industry, and their care and love for the animals that they are entrusted with in their care. They take those responsibilities exceptionally seriously. And I think any suggestion to the contrary is disingenuous. These are two very valuable industries to this country, and it's very important that we continue as a government and as a country to support these industries. And I think, if people are going to come into this chamber and elsewhere and talk down the industries and attempt to do a disservice to them, they need to be honest with the people that are employed in those industries and not talk out of both sides of their mouth on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And certainly when I came in to chair the debate, with all this gone on. But look, before I call on the Minister, I really want to appreciate all senators for the cooperation here. The Minister rang me when we were 5 minutes late, and I knew he was caught up in a meeting and he was trying to get here, and I appreciate that you're cutting your time to appreciate it as well. And particularly for my colleague Senator Daly, who has slapped down very strongly at the start. He'll never forgive me. And also for the officials for their support. Now, we will call on the Minister to make your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cahill, and thank you to all the members for the various contributions here this evening, and indeed with the passion with which everyone spoke to the motion, and indeed the tremendous interest that there has been in it. And apologies again, Cahill, for the disruption at the start in terms of being being delayed in leaving the Cabinet subcommittee meeting previously. Obviously, this is something which we've got discussed in great detail in the Dáil. And indeed that I know many of you contributed to as well directly in terms of the debate that we had at the Oireachtas Committee on this issue too. And I think very clearly from every speaker here this evening, the one absolute clear message from everyone, that everyone in this House is absolutely determined and consistent on, is the importance of welfare standards, the importance of care for both horses and for greyhounds. And indeed, that is a priority that is shared, as we know, and has been outlined by speakers here this evening, by owners of horses and greyhounds throughout the country. And it is absolutely crucial that that is the case. And I have a very strong message for anyone that would in any way move away from those highest standards that owners expect of other owners, that we expect of everyone involved as well, and that is that we will come down like a ton of bricks on anyone who disrespects that principle and the importance of caring for both horses and greyhounds. And I think when we look across both sectors, there is great care, and no one spoke to that better than Senator Kyne in relation to his own experience and his own father and the care and attention that was brought, and that is representative of horse owners and dog owners across the country as well. I think overall these are two really important sectors, not just for the enjoyment that they bring to those who participate in them and those who attend them, but also really important sectors in terms of the economic output they mean for the economy. Greyhound is a smaller sector, obviously, but important right across the country, in rural Ireland in particular, but also really important heritage in our urban centres and indeed in urban Dublin here. And our horse sector, horse racing sector, an absolute beacon across the world in terms of what we've built up and developed here over the years, and which the horse and greyhound funding that we give is really, really important in terms of being a generator of that income or that sector and keeping it moving and keeping pushing it on, and having provided that leadership to the sector, one which is envied across the world and one which I know we all intend to build on in the time ahead as well. So listen, I want to recognise the role of Horse Racing Ireland and of Rasia Conairn as well in terms of providing stewardship and leadership to both those sectors. Again, they support the widespread support here across both houses of the Oireachtas and across the vast majority of members as well, for continuing with the state funding of both sectors as well, to keep them at the centre of Irish society and to be a key stimulant as well, which underpins both of those sectors. So I'd like to thank you, Cathaoirleach, for your discretion and cooperation here this evening. I'd like to thank all members for their participation here and indeed at the Oireachtas Committee, and I know that it is something that the Oireachtas Committee in particular will continue to work with Rasia Conairn on and Horse Racing Ireland on as the year progresses, and certainly I look forward to doing that as well and seeing both these industries strengthen in the time ahead and continue to be really important parts of Irish rural life as well as the Irish economy, and really importantly with the highest of welfare standards at the centre of both.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now I have to deal with Amendment 1 in the name of Senator Boylan on behalf of Sinn Féin. Is Amendment 1 agreed to? No. Not agreed to? Okay. The question is that the amendment be made. Those in favour, Arbogin Tá. Those against, Arbogin Níl. I think the question is defeated. It's defeated.
So senators can hear the question. Motion re Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund Regulation 2021 Amendment 1. The question is that the amendment be made, and on that question a division has been challenged. Tellers Tá, Senator Lynn, Boylan and Senator Paul Gavin and Neil, Senator Seán Kyne and Senator Robbie Gallagher. This is a roll call vote. I'd ask the clerk to proceed with the vote.
Senator Garret Ahearn. Senator Catherine Arda. Senator Francis Black. Senator Niall Blaney. Senator Victor Boyhan. Senator Lynn Boylan. Senator Paddy Burke. Senator Jerry Buttimer. Senator Malcolm Byrne. Senator Maria Byrne. Senator Micheál Carrigy. Senator Pat Casey. Senator Shane Cassells. Senator Lisa Chambers. Senator Lorraine Clifford Lee. Senator Martin Conway. Senator Gerard Crockwell. Senator Ollie Crowe. Senator John Cummins. Senator Emer Curry. Senator Paul Daly. Senator Aidan Davitt. Senator Regina Doherty. Senator Aisling Dolan. Senator Timmy Dooley. Senator Mary Fitzpatrick. Senator Eileen Flynn. Senator Robbie Gallagher. Senator Roisin Garvey. Senator Paul Gavin. Minister Pippa Hackett. Senator Alice Mary Higgins. Senator Annie Hoey. Senator Jerry Horkin. Senator Sharon Keoghan. Senator Seán Kyne. Senator Tim Lombard. Senator Vincent P. Martin. Senator Michael McDougall. Senator John McGahan. Senator Aaron McGreehan. Senator Rebecca Moynihan. Senator Rebecca Moynihan. Senator Ronan Mullen. Senator Eugene Murphy. Senator David Norris. Senator Niall O'Donnell. Senator Dennis O'Donovan. Senator Fiona O'Loughlin. Senator Joe O'Reilly. Senator Pauline O'Reilly. Senator Ned O'Sullivan. Senator Lynn Rowan. Senator Mary Siri Carney. Senator Marie Sherlock. Senator Mark Wall. Senator Barry Ward. Senator Fintan Warfield. Senator Dermot Wilson.
Could I ask the tellers to go to the back of the chamber, Marcia the Holly? Result of the vote, toss 7, Neil 34. The amendment is defeated. Is the motion agreed to? Not agreed. Not agreed. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favour say taw. Those against say Neil. I think the question is carried. Vote on. 2 and 1. Fianna Sakara, so members can hear the question. Motion regarding the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund. Let's start again. Motion regarding the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund Regulation 2021. The question is that the motion be agreed to, and on that question a division has been challenged. Tellers Thaw, Senator Seán Kyne and Senator Robbie Gallagher, and Neil, Senator Lynn Boylan and Senator Paul Gavin. This is a roll call vote. I'd ask the clerk to proceed with the vote.
Senator Garret Ahearn. No. Senator Catherine Arda. No. Senator Francis Black. Senator Niall Blaney. No. Senator Victor Boyhan. No. Senator Lynn Boylan. No. Senator Paddy Burke. No. Senator Jerry Buttimer. No. Senator Malcolm Byrne. No. Senator Maria Byrne. No. Senator Micheál Carrigy. Senator Pat Casey. No. Senator Shane Cassells. No. Senator Lisa Chambers. No. Senator Lorraine Clifford Lee. Senator Martin Conway. No. Senator Gerard Crockwell. Senator Ollie Crowe. No. Senator John Cummins. No. Senator Emer Curry. No. Senator Paul Daly. No. Senator Aidan Davitt. No. Senator Regina Doherty. No. Senator Aisling Dolan. No. Senator Timmy Dooley. No. Senator Mary Fitzpatrick. Senator Eileen Flynn. Senator Robbie Gallagher. No. Senator Roisin Garvey. No. Senator Paul Gavin. No. Minister Pippa Hackett. Senator Alice Mary Higgins. No. Senator Annie Hoey. Senator Jerry Horkin. No. Senator Sharon Keoghan. Senator Seán Kyne. No. Senator Tim Lombard. No. Senator Vincent P. Martin. Senator Michael McDougall. Senator John McGahan. No. Senator Aaron McGreehan. Senator Rebecca Moynihan. Senator Ronan Mullen. Senator Eugene Murphy. No. Senator David Norris. Senator Niall O'Donnell. No. Senator Dennis O'Donovan. No. Senator Fiona O'Loughlin. No. Senator Joe O'Reilly. No. Senator Pauline O'Reilly. No. Senator Ned O'Sullivan. No. Senator Lynn Rowan. Senator Mary Siri Carney. Senator Marie Sherlock. Senator Mark Wall. No. Senator Barry Ward. No. Senator Barry Ward.
Sorry. Fianna Sakara Anish.
Senator Barry Ward. No. Senator Fintan Warfield.
Cunis Marsha the Holly.
Senator Dermot Wilson.
No. Tellers to go to the back of the chamber. Result of the vote. Result of the vote, Tá 35, Níl 5. The motion is agreed. Cormac. Next item. Can't remember.